This is a video about being a magnet. One thing that I've learned about being, a light worker is that it's like the meme says, you're going to attract a lot of broken souls. You're going to attract a lot of people who are in search of healing, who need help, right? And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with lighting your torch and, being a beacon of light for other people. But what I've learned is that it's incredibly important to have energetic boundaries immediately with people. Because when people notice that you have a high capacity for empathy, that you have a kind heart, that you are a helper, that you love with no conditions, they begin to exploit it. And a lot of times people don't know that they're exploiting you for those good qualities. But then there are people who do know that they're doing it because they've done it to other people in their lives and they've exhausted all of their resources. So as soon as they come across a new resource of light, love, compassion, empathy, they begin to try to suck as much of your light from you as possible, as quickly as possible, because they know that from their track record, they have either scared people off because of the intensity, they've run people off because they've sucked the souls out of them, or they've just been, unable to penetrate that person's boundaries because that person has strong boundaries. So it's important to build that up as a light worker, not only to protect yourself, but to also teach people that they cannot just come up to you and just feed on you. Because that's something that I've always had a problem with, is attracting so many people who recognize that I'm a great listener. They recognize that I'm very pragmatic, but also compassionate. They recognize that, my empathy levels are extremely high. And I attribute that to having a very nurturing heart. I always want to help people who seem to be, struggling. And not necessarily underdogs or anything like that, because a lot of the people who come to me actually, in the 3D aspect, are doing very well for themselves. But emotionally and spiritually, they may be corrupt, bankrupt. They may be stunted, So that's something that I've noticed, that those people tend to come to me because I guess, maybe they just think that I'm just, living in a fairy tale myself where nothing harms me except for, the energy vampires and the people who are literally leeching off of my energy. That's what hurts me. So putting up energetic boundaries is super important. Some things that I've come to notice as red flags immediately when speaking to people, and it lets me know, okay, it's time for me to, assert boundaries and put my guards up a little bit with these people, is sometimes they may say things like, oh, since you are an empath, what do you think about this? Now, I don't necessarily describe myself as being an empath. I describe myself as being highly empathetic, or having a high capacity for empathy is usually how I frame it. Because, there is kind of a stigma against empaths that, we can be very self-serving and almost martyring ourselves when there's no need. And, I've gotten caught up in cycles of that, of like just overextending because I thought that that's what I was supposed to do. But now I recognize that like I just have a high level of empathy for suffering. When I see people suffering, I want to help them, or I want to guide them towards help. I don't necessarily think that I am the one to help them. No. But I do recognize that they need help. And if I can guide them towards getting help, that's usually all I'm trying to do. So I think sometimes if somebody is confused about that, it's very important to set that boundary from the beginning so that they aren't coming to you to exhaust you of your empathy. All of us have a reserve of empathy for people. And once it's gone, it can be hard to replenish. And I'm the type of person who is able to be self-sustaining and replenish that whenever I need to, but not everybody is like that. So look out for that. 2, people who constantly, and when I say constantly, that's subjective. To me, constantly means if every time we talk, you're bringing up your problems, that's a red flag to me, because you're expecting me to give you positive energy to build you up despite your circumstances that have nothing to do with me other than you telling it to me. So when you come across people like that, it's important to let them know very early on that while you may empathize with what they're going through, you can't relate. And I had a really hard time telling people that I couldn't relate to their problems, because once again, I thought I was an empath and I wanted to help people and I wanted them to feel comfortable with telling me their problems. But I realized a lot of it was I just really wanted to help people, but I needed to steer them into helping themselves. So don't be afraid to let people know, like, I can't relate to what you're talking about. So I think you should seek someone who has either experienced these things as well, or, you know, has a better opinion on it, because my opinion is not going to be helpful because I cannot relate. 3, when you encounter people who always have the victim mentality. And a victim mentality can be spotted by apologizing profusely for something that they are aware that they are doing. It's usually like a character trait or like a personality defect that they have, that they are trying to condition you to accept. So if they're like, oh, I'm sorry I'm like this. Oh, I'm sorry. I can be really annoying. Or I'm sorry that, I'm going to talk about this all the time. I usually do this all the time. And if that's a sign to me that, that personality defect, that trait is what pushes people away and has pushed people away in their lives in the past. And while they are looking for acceptance, they're also not looking to change the way that they project that personality trait onto other people. And they don't take ownership for how other people react to it. Because a lot of the times, there are things about ourselves that we do constantly that people have told us are off-putting, but we don't want to change. Because we decide that that's part of us. We decide that, these little neurotic things, they make me feel better, even though I know that they're bad. So I'm not going to change. But I'm going to complain about other people complaining about it. But now that you are a new person in my life, you don't know that about me, let me tell you up front so that you're already conditioned to accept it. You don't have to accept it. You can let the person know that, hey, maybe you should work on that. I'm noticing that you bring that up a lot. Maybe that's something that you should work on. Don't be afraid to tell people that. Especially when they're coming to you for guidance, they're coming to you for help with their problems. They're coming to you because you're an empath and, oh, you're so kind and you're so understanding. That may be true, but no matter how kind, no matter how understanding, no matter how loving I can be, I just don't have a tolerance anymore for people pushing their problems onto me and trying to force me to care about their problems. So if you are an empath and you're encountering a lot of people who seem to be really adamant that you help them with their emotional problems, you help them process things that they're going through, put up those energetic boundaries immediately and be empowered to let them know that your high capacity for care and for empathy and for love and for helping others, that is your natural gift, and it's not to be exploited. And it's to be used at your discernment when you feel the need to help someone. So make sure you're doing that. If that's not how you feel, get away from those people. It's fine to take time, and it's fine to, you know, put a boundaries until you feel like you can help that person from an impartial space. So I hope that helps. I've had people ask me, like, you know, I feel like I'm an empath. What should I do? Like, you know, I have so many people coming to me with their problems all the time, but nobody is there for me when I have problems. That's what's been working for me, is just learning to put up boundaries fairly early in relationships. And also learning that, you know, you don't have to help people if you don't want to. You don't have to be giving people your prime energy if you don't want to. My necklace is all tangled. But yeah, so hopefully that can help some of you who identify as being an empath. If you have any other questions on, like, what is an empath, if you think you're an empath, how to get out of the empath loop of being abandoned by people after you help them, I definitely have a video coming up on that. So if you have any questions like that, I do put my Instagram link in the bio. And, you know, I usually take questions on Instagram and stuff like that. So, hope everybody has a good day. I hope this video is helpful. I hope, you know, it helps my empaths out there to be stronger and put up those boundaries and continue to spread light and continue to help others from an authentic place when you feel pulled to help people. Don't let people bully you into helping them. Don't let people guilt you into helping them. You help when your cup is full and you have excess to give. And don't be afraid to take time for yourself. Putting up boundaries is important because it is how you sustain your energy. So that's all I have to say. Peace.